So with that, let's convene the second part of our discussion with basically, that's okay. Thank you. With involvement of numerous leaders of the industry. And as you will see, we added quite a number of 6 panelists. His Excellency Abdulrahman Al Ibrahim, Governor of SWIC. I will do a very short introduction because most of them are well known to the industry, desalination industry. Dr. Corrado Samariva, Managing Director of ILF, immediate past President of IDA, here President and Director in United Arab Emirates. Dr. Hassan Arafat, Associate Professor, Department of Chemical and Environmental Engineering at Masdar Institute, also here in Abu Dhabi. Mr. William Chang, Executive Managing Director of Emirates Semcor Water and Power Company, located in Fujairah in United Arab Emirates. Dr. Masaru Kurihara, IDA Director, President of Asia Pacific Desalination Association, Torrey Fellow from Japan, and Imad Al-Sharif, Vice President of Desalination Energy Recovery, Inc. of United States, living in Jordan. With that very short introduction, what we agreed that each of the panelists will be presenting focal point in 2-3 minutes. And then we will try to conduct a discussion between panelists and then open the forum to question and answer. With that, Your Excellency, let's start with you. If you could maybe add some points more specific to your general remarks previously.
Okay, thank you, Leon. I thought I was very specific, but I can feel that the appetite to be more specific, the specificness has no limit to do so. Let me just throw in some examples to show the importance of how should we rationalize the businesses that we are in. I started, or I ended my conclusion with having the new dimension of establishing new businesses in Saudi Arabia, along with the business of producing water and electricity. To start with, electricity in cogeneration was meant to be there to augment the cost of water production. You may not need very high temperatures to start with for desalination, but rationally you can do the cogeneration for more of economical payback for the 2 dual productions. Having another business to look at how should I utilize my brine. Should I use that brine back again with another level of technology to produce more water? That is a third stream or third product to look at very carefully while maintaining your business. I know that, and I can feel it from my colleague, because in Saudi Arabia, or my entity, have a VP. I have a VP in charge of operation and maintenance, and I have a VP who's in charge with projects and technical affairs. And I can feel it from the personality type of every one of them. The O&M person, he's a little bit reluctant to change anything because he cares about the level of production and he doesn't want any interruption in the business itself. So if you come into you knock the door and say, can I try such a new invention, or can I change the process of how should you produce water? The answer would definitely be no, and a big no to say, and get out of my office, because I will never be able to tolerate a call from His Excellency the Minister, or from the Governor himself, or from the security people to say why water is not produced at such a level of quantity. Whereas the other entity, the project who's ready to go into a more of a much larger leap and span to say, I have the courage to go with more technology. But we need to balance the two things to the best that we can. Other business opportunities We in Saudi Arabia, for example, in those old thermal units where we capture the carbon ashes and then somewhere pay for someone to be able to dispose those carbon ashes. Those carbon ashes are very precious elements that I can use for the other energy businesses like the cement businesses. They are with high carbons, and I can change the whole business in terms of disposing those elements and affecting and harming the environment into another stream and then utilizing. These are just only two examples that I'm highlighting, but I think the list goes on. If we started going beyond limiting our businesses just to produce water and electricity. One very rigorous question that was raised in the preparation of this meeting, but we've thought very carefully within SWIC, and we are currently looking at it very carefully, is that should we continue business cogeneration in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on a national level, or should we look at with the high industry unit production of electricity and then utilize that electricity to run another business to produce water? Going beyond just the scope of your fence to see how on the national level it benefits in that regard.
Very good, thank you. I have a quick question. In Riyadh, during the Water and Saudi Forum, SWIC presented plans for future desalination. If you get the summary in the major break periods, what do you see capacity increase? You don't need to repeat all the plans, but just what do you see as needs for desalination?
I would expect that the 4 million cubic meter per day today, we will reach in less than 2 years, 3 years to almost 7 to 8 million cubic meter per day. It's around an increase of 70% of the capacity that we are in. I mentioned, I will repeat again, Jubail, we will, to be announced for bidding at the end of this year. It will have 1.5 million cubic meter per day and 3,000 megawatt of power. This is a huge plant that nothing ever similar anywhere in the globe. Rabigh is a 600,000 cubic meter per day on RO business, and Jeddah to be announced also the same year to 400,000 cubic meter per day. There is a huge network of business next to it that goes beyond 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers for bringing that water into the major cities of Riyadh.
Thank you. We'll have a chance to ask you questions, both
Sure.
audience and between ourselves panelists. I would like to call on Dr. Corrado Samariva to give a few remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leon. I would like to, as we are on a forum of innovations and sustainability, to recall what I mentioned last week at the Saudi Water and Power Forum. And if you digit on Google sustainability and environmental impact, you come out with the so-called EPAT formula, which is a formula which was developed in the 70s by 3 American scientists and says that the environmental impact is equal to population multiplied by affluence multiplied by technology, which in terms means that to have a zero environmental impact, we should not exist in the planet, population equals 0, or the affluence should be 0, which means we should all live like miserable, or the last point, technology is 0, which means nobody should have an iPod or an iPad, or we should go back to the Stone Age. And this formula has been proven right until the 1990s, maybe. But then if you look at indexes, like for instance, the carbon footprint per capita, in the last decades, you will see that technological society like Germany, Spain, France, Italy, has been able, through technology, to decrease the per capita carbon footprint by 20%. Therefore, the emphasis in innovation is let's change the EPAT formula in the reverse EPAT, which means the environmental impact is proportional to population, yes, to affluence, yes, but it's inversely proportional to technology. Therefore, the aim of forces like this, and again of this community, is to create a society whereby through an ideally technological society, we would be able to infinitely reduce to zero the environmental impact. And, and this is the emphasis that innovation has, and you know very well, I've been extremely fond in all my IDA campaign and later on. The fact remains that the water sector, with respect to other sectors, for instance, telecommunications, let alone computers, has been extremely conservative with regard to innovations. And why so? The conservatism has been derived by the fact that we are not dealing with a luxury item that we can live without. We are dealing with an item which is essential and fundamental for the life. Therefore, no shortcuts can be taken on this point. Having said that, the issues of bankability and the issues of breaking or bridging the gap between what is in the research and environment and what is in industrial installation, leaving no room for fancy ideas to prosper, but leaving room for good ideas to really build the technology of the future is to be strongly pursued.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Corrado, what do you see in future as the most efficient desalination energy process? Where are we going from here?
That is my statement. I always say that there is a technology of tomorrows and the technology of the day after tomorrow. The technology of tomorrow is the technology that we have today, which is the state of the art, made more efficient. And there is room for efficiency improvement up to 50, 20%, 50% in some cases. The technology that we have to start today to plan for the day after tomorrow are those technologies that are completely different and take us outside the equations of MSF, MED, RO, but bring us to a new generation of desalination plants, and these generation of desalination plants can be easily coupled with renewable sources.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Hassan Araf, I would like to hear your views from perspective of Masdar Institute.
Thank you. Coming from academia, I probably can offer a slightly different perspective than the people coming from industry, everybody else on the panel. I would like to refer to the project which Mohammed Al-Ramahi talked about, which is Masdar's renewable powered desalination project. From the very beginning, Masdar had a very nice vision of actually including an element of R&D in the project. And their partner for that was Masdar Institute. Because all of the technologies that were to be piloted in Masdar in Ghantut had to have some element of novelty. And you probably remember from the slides which Mr. Ramahi presented, each of them had some twist on either RO, and actually one of them was a completely novel technology, which is forward osmosis. That actually necessitated the use of some innovation and opened the door for research and development in each of those technologies. With each of the companies that were piloting in Ghantut, Masdar Institute will have a research project tackling one specific element of R&D in each of those technologies. I cannot give specific details, but I can tell you briefly what we gain from that as an institute. Often a big problem often spoken of in academia is the gap between what people do in academia and what is happening in industry. Academia is viewed as somewhat of an ivory tower where people do things in their fancy world, but people in industry are doing something very different and they don't speak the same language. Quite honestly, this project opened a huge door for us in Masdar Institute to do capacity building in a way that we never had the chance to do before. Not only to see how industry thinks and what kind of problems we can contribute to and what sort of issues we need to work on, but it also provided us the opportunity to see how they think. And our students and our staff, our researchers have had the opportunity from the very beginning to be able to see how mega projects like these get planned, commissioned, operated, conducted, etc. And this actually has contributed tremendously to the capacity building that we are all about as an academic institution. Message to take out of that, perhaps Masdar could have done it without Masdar Institute altogether. I think in theory they could have delegated this whole task to the companies to come up with their best solution and not needed the involvement of an R&D academic institution like Masdar Institute. But I think they made the effort to build local capacity. And this is the big difference between just hiring an EPC contractor to come in and build the plant for you and actually building a local capacity where you have your own graduates and you have your own researchers and faculty doing something on the ground that will stay there forever, even after one day the contractor will leave. So I found it to be a marvelous experience. I think it's a wonderful model that other countries can follow, and especially when such novel projects are built. The immediate economic returns may not be very obvious, but the long-term returns are tremendous, and the capacity building is just invaluable. I'd like to conclude with that.
Thank you very much. Masdar obviously will do the modeling of all the pilot plants, and as you mentioned, certain aspect, and expand the possibilities to really to future projects or simulation of those solutions.
Yes, indeed. So the capacity that we build doesn't stop with the Masdar project. There are a number of aspects that we will be able to develop in terms of capacity building, starting from being able to develop and test novel membranes, to actually modeling processes from a techno-economic viewpoint, especially coupled with solar energy. I definitely see that this will give us an opportunity as an institute to work with other partners in the future, not only in the UAE, but perhaps regionally, for example, like in Saudi Arabia or in Kuwait and so on and so forth, especially in this very interesting area of coupling renewables with desalination.
Thank you. Dr. Masaru Kurihara, you've been involved in mega projects, so could you give some results, really in short summary, and then we maybe can ask and discuss more.
Okay. Thank you, Leon. I am fellow of Toray industry, but I explain today as the position of the senior scientific director of the megaton project. As you know, somebody knows, megaton means 1 million cubic per days CO2 plant. That is not realized yet, but quite soon, like Saudi Arabia or China, they are expecting to be the large size of CO2 plant. That's why we started this kind of project supported by Japanese government. And mainly we brush up the technology all of the reverse osmosis process. The main target is energy reduction. Clearly, the target is 20 to 30% energy reduction to the conventional one. Second one is low environmental impact, which means, as Dr. Ibrahim-san explained, long-term, much amount of chemical throw away environment. So we discussed or did explain. In case of the energy reduction, very concretely, we propose low pressure CO2 membrane. Low pressure CO2 membrane below 50 megapascal like that. Second one is we develop the highly efficient energy recovery system. And also, in addition to this, we have to add the pressure retarded osmosis, which energy recovery from the brine. Such combination of the new technology will afford us 20 to 30% energy reduction. This is simulation. And in case of the low environmental aspect, we review the process itself. Most important one is bio-friendly pre-treatment system. In case of the polyamide membrane, always we have to use chlorine or sodium bisulfite. But that chemical trigger of the biofouling. That's why we have to remove such chemical. It means more or less chemical which are for the low environmental friendly. And finally, this is very happy to announce today, this kind of the technology will be verified only in Japan, in a small case. So today we have announced under His Excellency of Ibrahim Shan, we are going to our megaton technology with SWEC as a partnership. That's very happy to give us such a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Continuing our discussion, William Chang, Executive Managing Director of SEMCOR, or Emirates SEMCOR in Fujairah 1. Would you, William, tell us a few things about Fujairah project, which is large hybrid project, and what are the advantages? And then we can talk about other points of view. So if you could give us a picture of what's happening in Fujairah 1.
Thank you, Leon. Fujairah 1 IWPP is located in by the Gulf of Oman, so northeastern part of UAE. The seawater condition there is quite favorable especially for RO production. Now, the power generation at F1 is through gas-fired. We are producing 893 megawatts and 100 MIGD of desalinated water, and based on a hybrid process, which includes MSF as well as RO. Now, the advantage of integrating power generation and desalination, there are several benefits, which include, having a common seawater intake, common discharge infrastructure. There's optimized usage of steam, which is used to produce water through thermal desalination, and there's also the availability of auxiliary power to generate, to run the RO plant. Now, Fujairah 1's 30 MIGD SWRO expansion is under construction and is expected to be completed by end of June this year. The new RO plant will be designed and equipped with a dissolved air flotation unit to serve the existing as well as the new RO plants, and it will protect our RO plants from during situations where we have algae bloom in the seawater. Now, one of the key features of this new RO plant is the usage of MSF heat reject as RO feed water, which will reduce the discharge of the discharge from the MSF plant to the sea. Other innovative design features are also the usage of the state-of-the-art energy recovery devices, use of warmer feed water that goes to the SWRO plant, as well as the design hydraulic profile, which uses gravity flows within the plant. So in this way, the total power consumption will also be reduced. So if you look at the total optimized energy footprint of savings of the system, we are able to reach a range of about 0.62 to 0.68 kilowatt hour per meter cube. And this is one of the innovative feature of this SWRO plant.
Thank you. In reality, this is one of two examples of hybridization where the feed to RO is taken from the outlet of MSF or thermal processes, power or MSF or MED processes where provides warmer water, right? And therefore reduces energy consumption. So what was the number you were using for the overall energy consumption?
Energy, for the overall energy, was in terms of savings, we are achieving about 0.62 to 0.68
An absolute
kilowatt.
number, are we?
So RO trains alone, will be achieving about 3.2 to 3.5 kilowatt hour per meter cube compared to the existing, which is more than 4 kilowatt hour per meter cube.
So it's significant improvement.
Yeah, and also the warmer heat reject from MSF will also, when it's mixed with the seawater feed, will also improve the membrane performance as well. in terms of
Excellent.
efficiency. Yeah.
Okay, let me just jump to our last panelist, Imad Al-Sharif, who is dealing with energy recovery. And so if you, Imad, could kindly give a quick view, your view, and the rest of the time we'll commit to discussion with the audience.
Yes, thank you, Leon. Let me start with the general statement where, because we are located here in the GCC countries, and there's no, in my opinion, single fix to the problem, and that is conserving fossil fuel and preserving oil revenues for future generations. And of course, optimize oil exports for the GCC countries. We know that there's a huge oil consumption, domestic, in many of the GCC countries and many of the oil-producing countries, and that's mainly due to heavily subsidized oil prices. The cost of conventional electricity is artificially low, again due to the subsidized fuel prices, and it could be one of the biggest barriers for introduction of renewable energy development. One of the scheme of mix of energy mix scheme that is going to protect the interests of the oil-producing countries is introducing renewable energies into the energy mix. And I think one of the issues the countries are going to face is to strike a balance between the prosperity level that is offering to its citizens with the low subsidized fuel prices and the need to change that high consumption of oil domestically. This is just a general statement, and that's from my side.
Very good. I think your company is one of the leading energy recovery devices, isobaric. What else you have in plans to really improve further the efficiency of membrane processes?
Yeah. We have participated heavily since 15 or 20 years in reducing power consumption in reverse osmosis, seawater desalination plants. We have seen desalination plants that consume about 8 kilowatt-hour per cubic meter. And with the help of introduction of energy recovery devices like ours and membrane improvements, we see the numbers cut to more than half. We see a lot of plants running at 3, as William mentioned, 3.2 or 3 or 2.8 kilowatt-hour per cubic meter. We at Energy Recovery always work on the efficiency of energy recovery devices. We have improvement, I would say, every year. The latest improvements is a unique device that can reach to an efficiency of 97.2%. That's very high efficiency compared to 3 or 4 years ago, where we had 95% to 94% efficient energy recovery devices. Also, Energy Recovery Inc., our company is actually working now in oil and gas. So we are introducing energy recovery devices to non-water application, where specifically in the gas sweetening plants, where we have a cycle in gas processing. Also working in oil pipelines, where we can capture some of the energy that is wasted. So we are more into water and non-water at this moment.
Very good, thank you. Okay, it's exactly as we planned. We have 16 minutes for question and answer from the audience. Please raise your hand and introduce yourself, and question can be faced to any of the panelists or all panel. I see first hand here.
Ghassan Ije from Basics. I would like to address this question perhaps to Dr. Arafat, but it equally can also apply to SWEC, actually. I mean, it's fascinating what you're doing, but did you ever think or want to expand your horizons of going into sewage treatment, water conveying, sewage treatment, sludge, producing biogas from sludge, or even using the sludge for mixing with soil to reduce dependency on water? I mean, if you're looking in this, you might as well go the whole way. And that equally can apply to you, Dr. Ibrahim. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Actually, all the areas that you mentioned are being worked on at Masdar Institute, perhaps except for using mixing sludge with soil. We have a whole department at Masdar Institute working on recovering or generating biofuel from wastewater. We have people working on wastewater treatment, for example, membrane bioreactor, novel membrane bioreactor technologies. We have people working on pre-treatment technologies, novel pre-treatment technologies. There are people working also on solid management as well. It just happened that for the need of the Masdar project, I presented, or I was lucky enough at least to be part of the work that relates desalination to renewable energy. But there is a wide spectrum of all sorts of projects that are going on in Masdar. In fact, I had a conversation with the head of our Office of Sponsored Programs. It's the office that oversees the interactions between Masdar and external companies, local industry as well as international industry. And over the last year, I think the total number of projects that were signed or executed for Masdar Institute in collaboration with industry have totaled more than $60 million. This may not be a huge number for places like perhaps MIT, but if you think about Masdar as a place that has been around for only 4 years now or 5 years, this is quite impressive. It shows a very strong drive to actually work with local industry in all of the areas that you mentioned, plus many more as well.
Thank you. Any other question over on this side? I will get you, let him ask the question and then we'll follow up.
Yeah, my name is Saleh Hamrani from SWCC. I address this question to His Excellency the Governor. Don't you think it is time now to unify the effort between the Gulf states to localize the desalination industry in all dimensions?
Okay, thank you, Saleh. I think we need to put hands together to the best that we can. They have planned almost identical, similar to each other. We are faced with the same challenges. However, we speak to the same supplier differently. Correct? We need to have a common platform to be able to localize the technology, or either to bring in more advanced technology to our nation. I always speak to my colleague. I would never think that there is any desalination unit that is in operation anywhere in the globe that has never had the tag learned from the Gulf state. So whether it was Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates, but there should have been a tag attached to any desalination, advanced desalination, to say, has been learned. Even the one that we are now in collaboration with our colleague in Japan, and if you go also to Australia or anything, the plants, the advanced plants that they have, has been built upon the information that was gained through our entities. Likewise, any entity that we build is a long journey of operation, so it brings in the opportunity for small and medium enterprises next to us to build and to supply the entities, whether it was chemical spare part, as well as also building and fabricating the desal unit. Correct, it is not something that we need to limit ourselves to Saudi Arabia, but we can expand it to the local entities next to us. I want to announce at this minute that Yanbu 3, that is currently under construction, there is 6 desal units. 2 of them are now currently fabricated in Yanbu in Saudi Arabia. And this is now one stage towards a more advanced journey. I always tease my colleague, and I have teased also my colleague, Professor Rihara, if you want to partner with me, you need to have a one-way ticket to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so for you guys, if you want to have any partner with Saudi Arabia or with me, you need to show me just a one-way ticket to show the proof that you are here for Saudi Arabia, for your business, but for a future marriage to be established. But anyone who has a round-trip ticket, I can say goodbye to him and say thank you for your business. If I tap into the question that was raised by Dr. Ghassan, correct. We need to build upon our expertise to look at other matters in that regard. Being the expert of operating RO and utilizing RO for seawater, like what we did in Jeddah, that does not mean that we could not operate a brackish water treatment plan that is running on RO. And also as well, our expertise in treating dam water is something that we can build upon it to do so. Currently, my team now is in the southern region in Jeddah, in Jazan, to operate a 75,000 cubic meter dam water treatment. So we will be in charge to do so. Maybe in the next, we're changing tremendously. I was wondering if maybe next year, maybe we will come to you with a different name other than the Saline Water Conversion Corporation.
I have a challenge, an anonymous question. It really, with oil prices so low and still dropping, why is there a need to develop renewable sources for desalination or anything else? So it's to any of you, why are we still talking about renewable when the oil prices are now $45 per barrel? You want to try, Corrado?
To respond or to...
Respond, that's the question to the panelists.
But I believe that the question has three answers. The first answer is that the desalination plants are long-term assets whose life is 20 years, sometimes 40 years. So what we see now is just a drop in the oil prices, but we have to calculate the useful life and the correct energy price throughout the 40 years of the life of the desalination plant. So clearly what we see now is almost irrelevant to the type of the exercise that we do. The second point is that the fact that we have oil cheap doesn't mean that we have to burn it all and generating CO2, forgetting 10 years or 15 years that of responsible, sustainable energy policies that these countries have so responsibly developed. Thirdly, and I think this is the point, is that even at the very low oil price that is now experienced, still the energy that is allocated to the tariff of desalination is heavily subsidized. And will not make a big difference in the technology choice, because if you look at the tariff composition in one normal IWPP, you will see that energy still counts for 20–25% maximum of the overall oil tariff. The big chunk is given by the CapEx. CapEx themselves is 50% of the cost. So the fact that the energy is maybe 50% cheaper will not reduce the tariff for the time being. So will not change our mindset, even on the short term, where we want to have a cheaper desalination plant.
If you hear the results of Aqua Power International winning the solar 200 megawatts project with Dubai Electricity and Water Authority at price below 6 cents per kW hour, that's a revolution in solar energy. Is really relevant to Your Excellency, to the price, what we do about solar? Should we stop?
Okay, to say it correctly, I would love to have my name tagged into the question, because the name has been named unanimous, so no one knows it. Before, I was about to say a statement which is adequately fit to answer the same question. I'm proud to be part of the renewable businesses since the time that I was in my bachelor degree. That is not just because it's a history, but it's because of my total belief that we need to be able to utilize renewable energy rationally and efficiently. Two lessons that we have learned, I have learned myself, and I'm sure you have learned as well in that regard, throughout the history of, let's say, 30 years ago's window of energy dealing with it. We've been, almost 30 years ago, we looked at alternative energy, and the name alternative energy as a misleading terminology to say that, hey, we're bringing now a new technology that will scrap all of your current inefficient technology, and then we'll scrap it, and then you have no business, and then we will introduce a new business. So that's a little bit of a scary movie to tell people that you are a dirty the professionals that are not efficiently dealing with your business. In reality, what we should have dealt with is to augment this new introduction into the business. We know that the renewable energy will never be able to fit today and be able to completely scrap the current technology and replace it completely. We know that we will never be able to replace one complete mega or medium-sized plant with renewable energy. So why should we continue the terminology that it's a little bit scary? So we will continue. I am a total believer. Hybridness is something that we need to start with and continue with. Without it, we will leave renewable energy as the baby and still feeding it with too much milk that we will never be able to be independent and independent on its own. So we need to adopt it, foster it, and then bring it into a more mature stage to start with, which I'm sure all of us in this room agrees into this point. However, the second point is something that I want to highlight at this minute. I want to ring the bell to start with at this minute. Throughout the same period of 30 years of window of dealing with energy, there has been a very direct relation between our thrust and our belief with renewable with the oil prices. The higher the oil prices, the higher that we speak about renewable, the higher our thrust is to go for higher alternative renewable energy. However, once prices goes down into a more of an affordable or a very cheap oil prices, like what have happened in the middle of 80s and lasted to the beginning of 90s or so, there has never been any movement or a strong movement in renewable in that regard. And I can bet you if you Google into the paper and into how many publication that has been published yearly, you can see a huge drop in conferences as well as also innovation in renewable energy during the era of the low oil prices. That shows that although we speak to people that renewable energy is sustainable, however, we ourselves are not sustainable to continue the thrust in that regard. In conclusion, to say we should keep our pace and thrust and believe in renewable energy to be part of our portfolio, not to look at it as a scrapping tool for the current businesses so that we scare everyone with. We should not use it as a stick to people to say that renewable are coming, so you need to scrap all of your technology currently. So we need to look at it gradually and to believe in it. Why should we believe in it? Although that people can look at conventional fossil fuel as debatable, correct, if we look at it from an infinity point of view, sometime we will vanish the quantities of, it will vanish from different places from a different location. However, renewable is continuously renewable, and we need to rely, preventing the environment, taking care of resources, rationalizing the resources. I'm sure from a rational point of view, we can rely on renewable, whether it was renewable water, renewable energy, to start and continuously continue in that regard. So my message is we should continue our thrust into renewable, even at the times that slowdowns of oil prices.
Perfect, perfect. Your Excellency, that really could summarize quite a bit of our discussion today. It's exactly 4:30, so with time to change the panel. Thank you very much for all your participation, and recognize our panelists to their expertise and interact.